welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Sierra and I am so glad that you could be joining me today. So of course the video that I have today is 20 things I wish I knew before I turned 20. For the record, I am currently exactly 20 years old. Gonna be 21 in a couple months, but that is besides the point. There is quite a list of things I wish I knew before I turned 20. A lot of life lessons, a lot of things I wish I had engraved in my mind before venturing into actual adulthood. And I hope that if you are around my age, or really whatever age you are, that this list is able to help you in some way. If it does, comment down below, and comment down below if there's anything I missed on this list. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hop into item number 1, and that is that you're going to lose friends, and that's okay. Coming out of high school into adulthood, I can say that for me personally, I don't really talk to a lot of my high school friends. I still, follow them on Instagram. I'm still, watching their life through pictures on a social media app. However, we all went and did our own separate thing. The majority of people I went to high school with actually, moved away for college, and I stayed in our hometown. And that's just a part of growing up. You're gonna lose friends, and that's just a part of growing up. I feel like it's pretty much inevitable. I know my parents told me it was, and it still hurts to have the people that you grew up with move away, not knowing if you're gonna talk to them again. But that's one of the really beautiful things about being an adult, is that it gives you the ability to connect with new people and then also to reconnect with the people you grew up with. Just because you're not talking to each other right now doesn't mean you won't be talking to each other in the future. Nothing is for certain, and you just gotta learn that, it's okay to not constantly being surrounded with the same people who you were when you were growing up. And that leads me into number 2, and that is that you're going to feel like you're falling behind. And that's okay. Let me make this abundantly clear. This is something I really needed to know when I was younger, and part of me still struggles with that, if I'm being honest. And that is, there is no specific timeline for you to follow. There is no set path in life where you have to have certain accomplishments done and made by a certain age. Okay? Everybody is on their own path. Everybody is on their own timeline. And it is okay if your timeline doesn't match up with the people around you, the people who you knew growing up, your old friends. It does not matter. You are on your own timeline, you are living your own life, and everything will happen when it is supposed to happen. Not before, but when it is supposed to. Item number 3 on this list is that it is going to take you a while to find yourself. Just because you turn 18, 19, 20 doesn't mean you're gonna magically find yourself. Some people do, and I'm kind of envious of those people, but it'll take a while for you to find yourself. Your brain is still developing. You're still learning who you are, aside from, your parents, if you've moved out, the people who you grew up with, if, they're no longer in your life as prominently as maybe they were before. You have to learn who you are as a person on your own, away from the things that you were raised around. And that can lead to it taking a little bit longer to find out who you are as a person. And that's okay, because you are going to find out who you are as a person. Item number 4. Freedom as an adult isn't everything I was led on to believe. Yes, I am no longer living with my parents, but that means I have to cook dinner for myself every night. When I tell you I miss home-cooked meals by my mom, I really do. Number 5, and that is, things don't always happen overnight. And this just leads me back to my previous point. Everything in its own time. When things are supposed to happen, they will happen. Just because you've been working on something, or working for a new promotion, or you're working really hard at work, doesn't mean that everything in your life is going to suddenly get better overnight. Things still take time, things still take work. And it's okay if they don't happen overnight. They are coming. Item number 6, you're going to have to learn how to love yourself again. I think for me personally, looking back on who I was at different ages, it feels like a completely different person. That can sometimes make it hard to really appreciate who you are in the moment right now. Because, the grass is always greener, When I was this age, I was doing this things, I was having this many accomplishments, I was way better off. I miss her, I wish I could go back to the person I was before, or the person I'm going to be. Looking in the past, or you're looking in the future, and you're not taking the time to recognize who you are in the present. And I believe a really important thing to learn how to do is how to love yourself in all the stages and seasons of yourself. Because you're never going to remain the same stagnant person you were 5 years ago or the person you are tomorrow. So it's learning to love yourself in the moment of who you are. Number 7, and this is one I wish I could go back and tell little baby Sierra, and that is that it actually does get better. It's such a cliche saying. I'm so sorry, it's so cliche. But it actually does get better. Once again, on its own timeline. Bullet number 8, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you get to do everything you want or don't want to do. Now that you are an adult, you probably have some sort of responsibilities. I know me personally, I have way more responsibilities than I had while I was living under my parents' roof while I was a teenager. For me personally, I absolutely loathe making phone calls. I hate it with everything in my being, and sometimes I have to make a phone call. There's no way around it. Sometimes you gotta do things you don't want to do. Number 9 is knowing when to quit. I feel like when I was younger, I did not know when to quit. I would just push it and push it and push it way past when I should have just taken a step back and said, I'm done. This is too much. I'm stepping away, whether that's a job, a relationship, a friendship, conversation, any of that. It's very, very important to know when to quit. Item number 10, we are halfway through the list. Don't care too much about what other people think about you. Other people are always going to have their own opinions, and honestly, who really cares? It's like, you can't make everybody like you. You can't make everybody happy. Nobody's ever going to be perfectly happy with you 24/7. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day what other people think, especially strangers on the internet. That's one thing I wish I knew sooner. I was always so embarrassed to post online, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, even sometimes Instagram, because of people who I knew in real life and what they would think, even people who I'd never even talked to, people who I, saw on a daily basis, whether that be like at school or work. So embarrassed. And at the end of the day, who cares? Because eventually you're never going to see them again anyways. And if they really care that much about something as juvenile and pretty much, meaningless, is not hurting anybody, then that says more about them than it does about you. Number 11, it is okay to cry. I was a very emotionally closed off teenager, child person. I really never cried when I was growing up. From probably 13 to 17. It could be the saddest thing in the world and I still really wouldn't cry. I felt like I wasn't able to. And learning how to cry again came with healing. It sounds so cliche and cringy. Getting away from the situation I was in during those ages and healing from them allowed me to be able to express my emotions in an actually healthy way, and crying is an actually healthy way. Number 12, no one is entitled to like you. All right? You might feel the urge to make everybody else around you like you. You might want to know why, if a certain coworker or somebody in your friend group just doesn't like you, you might want to know why it might bother you. Don't let it. Once again, try not to care what other people think. People aren't entitled to like you. Number 13, this is a very important one. You have to be happy with yourself, with who you are, before you can be happy in a relationship. Growing up, any of the relationships I had before the one I'm in now were not healthy relationships. And I was a very unhappy person. I wasn't secure in myself. I wasn't confident in myself. And growing up, healing, being where I am now mentally and emotionally, allows me to open myself up to having a happy and healthy relationship. And just as a side note on this one, it's okay to be single, to take some time to figure out what you want, to heal, to work on yourself. Item number 14, this is something I am still working on, and that is open, healthy communication. I was raised in a household where conversing my feelings didn't end well for me. It doesn't matter how I presented it, doesn't matter what the topic was, it was always, something's wrong with you, we're gonna take away your outlets. Very harsh conversation back to me, if that makes sense. I feel like I didn't describe that very well. People who relate probably know what I'm talking about. But it didn't matter how hard I was trying to communicate, the other side wasn't being healthy in their communicating methods back to me, which led to me closing up and not being able to talk about my emotions and the things I'm thinking when an issue arises. That is something I am very much working on. now that I'm 20. It's something that kind of comes up in my relationship sometimes. If something kind of juvenile or small or really whatever is bothering me, sometimes I have a hard time communicating what that is, and I'd much rather shut down and not talk about it. That is not healthy. That can lead to resentment. It's always, always, always better to communicate, to practice healthy communicating standards. Which leads to number 15, and that is set firm boundaries. If the person you're trying to set boundaries with is not respecting those, that says more about the person than it does you. Your boundaries are important. If somebody isn't respecting your boundaries, then maybe that's a person you don't want to necessarily have in your life to at least the same degree that they currently are. Number 16, it is okay to put your mental health first. It is okay to not be constantly productive. I have a hard time just on a weekend, just laying down in bed and having a movie day. I feel like I have to constantly be doing something, or I start beating up on myself. And it's okay to take a mental health day. If you're not feeling especially well on a day you're supposed to go to work or school, it's okay to take some time for yourself and take care of yourself. Which leads to number 17, and that is the importance of having healthy coping mechanisms. Whether that's writing, drawing, poetry, going outside for a walk, exercising, journaling, whatever it might be, it is very, very important to have healthy coping mechanisms, to know what those are, and to know how to convince yourself to use them if maybe you're not doing so well. Number 18, it is okay not to know everything, and it is okay to admit you don't know everything. At whatever stage you are in life, it doesn't matter if you're 2 years old or 99. Nobody knows everything. That's okay. Number 19, drink more water. Pretty simple. I didn't really drink much water growing up, and that's something I know much better now. And I'm very lucky to be surrounded by people who are constantly pushing water on me. The most wholesome peer pressure I think I've ever found myself in. And number 20, your body is going to change, and that's okay. Your body is always going to fluctuate. Your weight's going to fluctuate. Your skin might fluctuate. Your looks might fluctuate. Everything about your body is changing constantly. Every day, your body might look different one day than it did yesterday, and that's okay. It's something I'm still trying to tell myself is okay. At the end of the day, I know now that fueling my body and being nice to myself is more important than the opposite of that. So yeah, that was my list of 20 things I wish I knew before I turned 20. If anything on this list helped you, please, please, please give it a like. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed anything. What are your thoughts? What's something you wish you knew before whatever age you are now? And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you all. Be sure to be kind to yourselves, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!